Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to today's conversation. I'm Sara Jane, and unfortunately, it appears that my co-host Enolia isn't with us at the moment, and we don't know why. We're guessing technology. But I am going to be very happy to introduce our guest, because I'm going to say it's our guest, because hopefully we'll get Enolia with us. Our guest, Kristi Borst. Kristi, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm so happy to be here and sharing this message with you, and always lovely to have uplifting, empowering conversations.
Oh, isn't it just? Yes, because Kristi and I are sort of also part of another conversation that happens once a month with some colleagues and friends of ours for soul empowerment. So we get to chat regularly. But today's conversation is about in this now, harnessing your power while you await your purpose. Kristi, I was going to ask this question anyway, and with Nolia not here, we'll ask it and we'll just get on with the program and hope she joins us. Share a little about yourself and why this particular subject, this topic, what has spoken to you about it?
Okay, so for many years, I was out of touch with being in the now. I was kind of what I would reflectively say more on autopilot of, being in the rat race, being, on that quest for not really more physically, but just, having the home, having the children. And then in my early 50s, I started kind of having this internal angst, I guess I'd say, of just feeling like there was something missing in my life and there was more I was supposed to do. And, really kind of getting thrown into that space of what is my purpose? And so it's actually a question I get from many people. And the answer that I have may be a little bit non traditional, shall we say. So, to kind of explain where I went from this mid 50s kind of awareness, uh, a series of things happened to me. The first one was I was driving down the highway and an eagle landed in my lane, and there were cars on either side of mine and cars behind me, and I couldn't stop. And telepathically, I just said, please fly up because I can't avoid you. And it actually started running toward my car and flew up the windshield of my minivan. And I feel that in that interchange, it turned something on within me that had been sleeping. And so shortly after that, I took Reiki classes, not even knowing what Reiki was, not knowing what chakras were. And at about the age of 55, I had a remembering of this ability that I have. I call it healing resonance, to be able to soothe the mind, calm the emotions, empower the soul, and heal the physical body. So that has been my journey of really rediscovery of who I am and why I believe I'm here.
And I so resonate with a lot of that. I really do, because yeah, I think many of us, you had the incident with the eagle, which is great. And I'm so pleased you didn't hit it. Well, I'm sure you are too. For me, it was definitely a wake-up call, because yes, I totally understand. We are in that we just get on with the everyday, and it's almost as if we sleep through life. Except for the fact my energies were taken up with people pleasing. Yes, one of the first things I learned was Reiki. And when they started mentioning chakras, I hadn't got a clue what they were talking about.
Exactly.
So I absolutely get that. I really do. But it spoke to me. It had spoken to me in respect of the first person you treat is yourself.
Mm.
Um, and I wasn't even in a place of thinking I have a purpose. That's how
Wow.
insecure I was in life. Me have
Yeah.
a purpose? I was nothing. And it's that insecurity. But I also think it's really important that we realize that everything we experience in life, everything we go through, all the jobs we do, etc., are really important. Don't think or be listening and thinking, oh, what is my purpose? I won't do anything till I find my purpose.
Yes.
It's really it's really not impossible. It's really important to be in your life, even if it's not fully in the way we're talking about now. Go out, do the different jobs, have the different experiences, etc., because with what I bring now, with what I do now, being able to go and do fairs and events and have stands. I worked in retail for a number of years. So perfect training for being able to go and work in the fairs and events.
I love
So
that.
never, ever think that anything, any time is wasted.
I have to agree, and that's really a big part of what I want to share today is that I think one of our biggest purposes is to express ourselves, to express a, I call it a vibe, uh, a vibe, an attitude, a beingness, an energy that there's only one person in this whole world that can do. And so ultimately, that's the biggest purpose is to vibe and be and almost imagine, you're sprinkling or you're seeding that energy wherever you go. So presence is a big part of that. If you're sleepwalking, you're not aware of what you're thinking. You're not aware of the energy that you're spreading. So it's really being aware of what's taking you away from your joy, bringing yourself back to joy. And it's that kind of, whatever comes in, right now there's a lot of heaviness coming at everybody. We can, feel that heaviness and get pushed back, or we can kind of find that heaviness within ourselves, use this as an opportunity to lift that heaviness, bring ourselves back to peace. So I agree 100%. Not only that, there's no waste of time in what you do. Um, any job you have, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're happy when you're in that space.
But even if you're in this, because I've been retail, run pubs, insurance, sort of, I've done a whole load of stuff. I really have, but all really good experiences to build confidence in yourself, in your ability. And bearing in mind, I very much came from a space of having absolutely no confidence at all. And it is about, you talk about joy, but when you're in that negative space within yourself, you don't even feel you're worthy of any joy. And if you get a little bit, you grab it because you don't think it's going to last. So I suppose one of the things I would say is start by realizing that you are worthy of all the love you give to others, of all the joy you bring to others, of all the happiness, etc., all the good that you support others with. You are as worthy of that as they are.
Yes, and I'm sure you would agree, Sarah, that that's one of the biggest kind of illusions or myths that we live in is that we think that we're not lovable when ultimately we come from unconditional love and light. And so if that is at our core, then how can we not be lovable? So I think I guess to that person that has no confidence, it's realizing that in this day and age, with the amount of non-physical healing that's available, emotional healing that's available, inner child healing work, which we both do, that it's almost a choice to not get to that place of feeling joy. So until you see the choice, it might as well not be there. But I encourage you to see that it is a choice in this day and age. It is a choice 100%. And so it's helpful for people to almost look at the things, the beliefs, the stories, the traumas that they've experienced that take them away from joy, and start to choose not to engage with those, start to see those as almost like obsolete programming, or even to take it to a more empowered place, it's self-sabotage on some level. You cannot be the vibe that you're here to be if you're going to choose to align with that old program, which, just to like kind of take a step out on a ledge, whoever that story came from, that you're not lovable, Sarah, maybe it came from your parents, but I would guess that your parents loved you. So there's a shred of untruth in all of these things we believe. In my personal case, my father told me to shut down my healing abilities when I was just 3 years old. So whatever the reasons were for that, and I know from a spiritual perspective, there's so many layers to that, but my 3-year-old self didn't know any of those reasons. What she thought was, even my daddy, who I love so much, the number one person in my life, cannot love me for who I am. So if I can't be me, who do I be? And that can be the seed of that people pleasing, right? But for me, it wasn't so much a people pleasing attitude. It was more what will other people think of me if I do this? Or what will people think of me if I do that? And this is kind of the irony of some of these beliefs which have lies in them, is that ultimately I am here to not worry what other people think about me. I have a different message which really puts me front and center of not fitting in, of breaking norms. So it's almost 180 degrees away from that earlier belief, right?
Oh, and it's realizing that with a lot of people, things happen very young in their lives. For me, I wasn't even old enough for it to be a cognitive thought. It was circumstances. It was absolute, and you cannot explain circumstances to a 1-year-old, period. It doesn't matter if you try. There's
Right.
no way that, obviously on a higher level, yes, they absolutely understand, because for me, it's a choice I made to have this experience. And that was a choice that gave me an amazing gift of understanding, of empathy, because the experiences that I had, and experiences, not just one, there were other things on top of the major one. The experiences I had, and then the wake up call that opened me up to, why am I worrying about what other people think when they're not thinking about me? And I've said this so many times, because when we are people pleasing, is that worrying about what other people are thinking. What can I do to make them happy? Will they like me for a little while? They'll soon wake up to the fact I'm not worth liking. It's that real negative stuff about yourself, but it's an experience I wouldn't change for the world, because I wouldn't be here doing what I do, being able to have conversations with people like yourself and sharing for people to be able to listen and hopefully open up to themselves.
Right.
When
Because that I'm sorry,
yeah,
that people pleasing energy comes from being disconnected from who we are. So if you're in that space of feeling like, you're people pleasing, then take a step back. Think about the things you liked to do as a child. Maybe try to do some child healing to understand if there's a part of you that's hiding in the closet, you know, and bring that back on board. It will, it will bring you on board.
oh yes, absolutely. It's the way I've looked at it is every time I got told off and told that whatever my behavior wasn't appropriate, wasn't good, was bad, whatever, right, that's an aspect of me they don't like. I must get rid of that aspect of me. That's the people pleasing thing. So there are aspects of me that have been scattered all around. And it's time when you are ready. And that's the thing is, but people like yourself, myself, we can support people with that reintegration, with
Exactly.
the healing of the hurt, the pain, and trauma that caused that separation. And for me, my experiences, my healing journey guided me to my life purpose. Without them, I couldn't do what I do. And so that is why when I sort of said about, there's no job ever wasted, there's no experience ever wasted, because there is going to be, for many people like you and myself, it's going to be something within our own experience, our healing of that becomes an aspect or the whole of our purpose.
And, I love that, that whole, it's a gift, really. I mean, every single trauma that I have experienced through my life, and there were many when I was a child, those are now portals, if you will, or doorways or connection points, whatever you want to call it, that allow me to connect in with one of my clients who has been in a similar situation and they're stuck there, to lift them out of that. So all of these things which you may see as negatives, every negative is really a positive if it's viewed in the right light.
Yeah. 100%. That, as they say, everything has its opposite. The light, the dark, the positive, the negative. But it depends on how you choose to look at it. You can see a negative or you can see a positive. And it's your choice. It's your choice to heal. I've had people say to me, Sarah, I love what you do. I'm not ready. I find that very sad, that they don't feel that I can't go back there. I can't revisit it. And I'm thinking, you don't necessarily have to revisit it. It's
Right.
not about reliving what
Exactly.
you've gone through. It's about allowing somebody to support you to heal the child, that the child doesn't necessarily got to relive what happened.
No, the child just wants to go and play, and that's the gift, right? Is that we allow that child to just get out of the closet and go and play. And in that way, we claim another aspect of joy within ourselves. I want to go back to what you said about, this person or that person saying, you can't be like that, or I don't like you if you be like that. and I know you realize, but I want to just say this um, explicitly, is that when somebody else has a reaction to us, the empowered self or the awakened self knows that whatever that reaction is about the other person. We have done something that um, has triggered in them an insecurity or jealousy or even something they want to change about themselves that they're not ready to change yet. So when we realize that our judgment of other people is really about ourselves, it's our stuff kind of showing up to us through other people, then we can take that brave step to say, okay, what other people think of me is none of my business because it's their wounds. I can just love them unconditionally when that wounding shows up in my face. But then I need to be aware of my judgment of others because that's telling me about me.
Yeah. And I must admit, I've got to the stage, and I feel very blessed with that I really do try and stay out of any sort of judgment. You know, I actually occasionally get my mother saying, "Oh, stop standing up for them." You know, sort of if there's something that's happened, and sort of I will comment and say, "But we have no idea what they're going through, what their life experiences have been, etc., etc." You know, but then I listen to my mother, and I'm just thinking, yes, but I will do that. I will attempt to do that. You know, even if it's not witnessed by anybody else, that it would be okay. What are they going through? What have they been through? You know, I don't need to know. I really don't. But it's just that ability to be able to step back and realize that we don't have to take other people's stuff on board.
Exactly. And that's especially that's one of the things I wanted to share today. That's especially important for parents and also empaths. So when we're parents, it's very important that we take care of our children and we guard our children. But there comes an age where we have to let that go because if you do know about chakras at all, and I'm just going to say there's one in the stomach, that's the solar plexus, that's our personal power. So if mom or dad are afraid for their child, then they've got their energy in that, you know, young adult or, you know, or teenagers solar plexus. If we're always running in to help, then the child can feel helpless. And also the child never gets, or the young adult never gets to fully expand their own energy. So there's a point at which we have to start envisioning our child succeeding and putting our energy toward that child finding their way or finding their power or getting their answer, because they're sovereign beings, they're divine souls just like we are. So whatever they have to go through, they have to go through. And our mucking with it is not, it almost like disempowers them at some point. And so the thing for empaths is that we can kind of feel this energy coming at us. And this person that's kind of emulating or I don't know what the word is, um, giving off this energy, say it's anger. They may not even be aware of this intense anger that they're projecting or, you know, kind of swirling around them, seeding into the earth, right? Um, and so if they're not even aware of it and it's theirs to transform or theirs to heal, what are we doing going in there and trying to take it on? So what I suggest to empaths is to really be clear about your own energy. And when that anger comes at you, realize that you can only feel that anger if you have anger within you. So find that space where there's anger within you and bring it back to peace within yourself, and then peace out. So the empath becomes a lighthouse rather than a sponge.
Yeah.
So again, this is part of that in the now, claiming your power. You're not being affected by everything going around you. You're standing in your space, watching your own vibe, and staying in that space of centered peace.
And it's very important to be true to you, to learn to say no to others and yes to yourself. Those people, yes people like I was, always doing for others, didn't matter about me. But actually, when we do that, when we're constantly saying yes and doing for others, and I mean doing, we're being a doing rather than a being. When we're doing for others, we're holding two people back. We're holding us back. And we are holding the individual we are not enabling to stand on their own 2 feet.
Yes.
So you talked about it as in respect of, as a parent, I'm not a parent. I have nieces and nephews, but I'm not a parent. And actually, nearly all my nieces and nephews are parents as well. And so it is really important within the workplace, with friends, with family, to learn to say no. If you've helped them with something in the past and they ask you again and again and again, it's got to be eventually, I've shown you how to do that. I've done that for you in the past. Let me show you so that you can do it yourself. If you've shown them in the past, you show me what I've shown you. The power, when I was...
Or even saying, I believe in you. I believe that you can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be all they need because they don't believe in themselves.
But I think one of the things is actually within I take it very much from a work environment. But when I was I'd resigned and I had to teach somebody else the job I'd been doing. Oh my God, I hadn't realized how much I did because I did it so automatically. But when you then encourage somebody to teach somebody else, that helps build their confidence that actually it's amazing how much they do know. And so it's that encouragement that some people need. And I think there is definitely somebody out there who said, I am so grateful to all those people who said no to me in the past. They made me do it myself. And it is so true. And I've said this for quite a long time now. No can be the biggest gift anybody can give you. And it's really important that we truly honor ourselves. And I know there are going to be those people out there who will say, but that's selfish. I think what we have to realize is when we are true to ourselves, respectful of ourselves, we are actually doing exactly the same for others. We're supporting others to, if they choose to, step into their own power.
Yes, and this is really the fundamental or pivotal importance of being present and not just, getting in a rut, if you will, or, doing things because you've always done them. You have to look at really what brings you joy, because we are not here to be slave beings to other people or to be servants, unless that is your chosen occupation. But really asking in these situations, who is it serving if I say yes? Who is it serving if I say no? And realizing too that if we don't make a decision, we're still making a decision.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. You sit on the fence, you've made the decision, whatever that may be, by not making a decision. And some people have real trouble with that. It's just like, well, okay, well, if I don't make a decision, then, but something will still happen. And if you don't like it, that has actually been your choice.
Right. And I think too, you know, I do have a little video on my website. It's called um, Guilt-Free Decision Making, seeing um, mistakes, like mistakes, one word, as takes. So, you know, as in the movies, you know, people get multiple takes. So when we look back on ourselves and there's a decision that we made that didn't turn out the way we anticipated, we can look at ourselves and beat ourselves up, but we are almost a different person now than the one that made the decision, because we know the consequence, or we know more now than we did at that point. So it's about being compassionate to these younger aspects of ourselves, if you will, and trying to make the decisions in the best way to be loving and supportive of those around us, but realizing that we don't always know all the factors. So if we make a decision purposefully hurting someone, then yes, that is a mistake. But if we didn't know that was going to happen, then that's a mistake. So really, that can be a good tool for someone who has habitually beaten themselves up, is to realize that, and this is something, you know, really I've found through the healing work I do, um, whatever the youngest age of us is that was somehow wounded, whether that was emotionally or mentally or physically, that is the one that takes the self-abuse when we, you know, scold ourselves for something we did an hour ago. So if we want to heal, if we want to be whole and empowered and happy, we have to start being kinder to the youngest wounded one, because that youngest wounded one is the closest version of ourselves that remembers who we are. And when I say we, I mean the eternal us. So the more we can heal these younger aspects of ourselves, the easier it is to us embodying a truer sense of ourselves.
And yeah, you use the word mistake, and I just don't see that we make a mistake. For me, it's, we can only make a decision with the information we have at the time. By making the decision, whatever it might be, taking the action, moving forward, and it does, as you say, it doesn't go the way we expect, but there's no mistake in that. We've learnt, we've grown. We absolutely aren't the same person who made the initial decision, because hopefully we have learned from it and we now have more information. But it's being grateful to the aspect of ourselves that had the courage to make a decision with the information they had. And how often are we told, you know, don't wait for all your ducks to be in a row, because they never will be.
Right.
Make a decision, get on with your life, because it is important to take that step forward. Until we take that next step forward, how are we going to know and learn and remember anything more? Because if we haven't taken a step, we're just not going anywhere.
Right. And it may require that we have to ask someone to forgive us, but we also need to forgive ourselves.
100%.
There's always this, you know, we talked about, there, some people can see things as a negative, some people can see them as a positive. It's almost like there's always a yin and a yang in situations. So if you feel you need to ask someone else for forgiveness, you also forgive yourself. Um, and if they can't forgive you, then, forgive them that they can't forgive you. Forgiveness is such a powerful um, healing energy.
Oh, forgiveness is so powerful. And the other really powerful one is gratitude. Being, and okay, let's start with self, because this is about in this now. Be grateful to yourself for all the experiences that you've had, for all the rememberings or learnings, however you wish to think of them, that you've received, for all the energies. Be grateful to yourself, as well as obviously the gratitude that you offer out to the universe, or however you choose to view it. That gratitude, well, they say, so you show gratitude for what you have, that helps invite more. And it is about being grateful. So the forgiveness is really important to help you to be in that happy and that joy. But the gratitude, is to help you to do that as well.
Right. And there is a quote I love by a 14th century Persian philosopher, Rumi, and that is, the wound is the place where the light enters you. So anytime there's these situations where things don't go, the way that you think that they should have, it's really an opportunity to love yourself unconditionally. Um, even like we talked about, like the challenge. Um, the challenge can be the gift, right? I said earlier that these things that I had gone through, abandonment, abuse, neglect, um, whatever, you know, when there's someone that comes to me and that's the energy of pain that they're feeling, I know that pain and I can hone right into it and I can lift it. So, was that something terrible that happened to me, or was that something that was served to me so that I can do what I'm doing now? I mean, there's so many beautiful layers to life that, if we're always looking, if we're looking at a field of flowers and we're only seeing the dead ones, then, that's a choice of perception. So this conversation really is about not always looking at the slice of pie that's missing from the pan. It's seeing that we still have, 11/12 of the pie left. Um, so some of that kind of perspective of lack and limitation is part of why we're here right now, is to lift that kind of pattern or programming or whatever you want to call it has been going on for centuries. And you talked, Sarah, earlier about the doing energy versus the being energy. And again, this is like the doing is the male energy, the being is a female energy. So there's been a focus on the male energy, achieve, work, struggle, whatever, and or even the flow. We got to be in the flow, but there's gifts in the ebb. So it's really seeing that kind of marriage of the yin and yang, of the positive and the negative, and realizing that the magic happens not at these extremes, but in the middle.
And and then the middle is who we are. You talked about the solar plexus earlier, and I must admit I was working with somebody, Reiki, and I'm not a seer. I'm not a hearer either. But I just became aware of their solar plexus, the core of our being, and it was like a well.
Hmm.
And everything, all the hurts, the pains, the anger, everything that hadn't been dealt with had been put into this well.
Hmm.
but it was still there, but it was festering. With this particular person, the lid was off, but all the gunk was still inside it. It was a horrible mess. But that was the sense I was getting. And I said to them afterwards, I told them, and they said to me, oh, no, I had a session of whatever it was, and I really cannot remember whatever it was. They've cleared all that for me. And I just looked at them and I said, I'm really sorry. They've taken the lid off. It's all still in there. I have no idea what happened. And it wasn't for me. I said what came to me. And I've had situations in sessions where I've said something and I couldn't any way, shape or form known. And I'm sure as you have, hit the nail on the head.
Right. And that's part of, that's part of being a good channel, is that you don't really self-assess what you're saying. The message has come to you, through you, for them. So yeah, you have to deliver the message, and what they do with it, that's their decision, really.
Yeah.
I understand that.
And I think for anybody that's listening to this, if you are thinking, I'm going to go to when I say therapist, I'm talking practitioner of Reiki, energy healing. There are so many different ones, shiatsu and craniosacral therapy, and so many out there. Reflexology, Indian head massage, whatever it is that speaks to you. The only person who can heal you is you. The energies I bring, the energy Kristi's bring, we can support you on that healing. I see myself as a tool, as an instrument, and I offer those energies to you. And those energies can empower your self-healing. But for me, none of us can walk into a room, have a session with somebody, and they say to you, I've dealt with it all for you.
I see it more like in the work that I do, that I'm helping them release what they haven't been able to release on their own. So it is a supportive thing. And sometimes we're so close to what it is that we're holding, or where we're hiding, that we've even forgotten we're hiding. So I just want to ask you, Sara, you did not introduce me. Do you want to just read what my background is, or do you want me to say a little bit more about that?
The bios go onto the website, because this is
gotcha.
A conversation we don't, which is why I sort of obviously asked you to share a bit about yourself.
Okay, that's fine.
And Kristi's bio, folks, is on the Today's Conversation aspects of Gift of Healing TV. So, and all our other guests. But what we're going to do is say to you, Kristi, yeah, people can get in touch with you through your website.
Absolutely.
So if you would like to, I know we haven't been joined by an earlier, and this is usually a three-way conversation. So maybe the sensible thing at this stage, because I think we've had such an in-depth conversation here, we really have, and we've covered an awful lot. So is there anything that you think you'd like to have touched on and covered that we haven't?
So I did have a kind of, I would call it a mantra, but it's kind of a process. That's a few lines that came to me to share. So I would like to read that. So this is to help you when you're in that space of feeling angsty, or nobody loves you, or not good enough, or you're too much, whatever that is, whatever the story is that's kind of bubbling up in you. All is well. I pause and connect with the breath that breathes me. I am aware in this now. I am recognizing something that is no longer serving me or us. I am looking for a choice, a new perspective, feeling, or outlook. I am grateful for my awareness. I am changing my now. I am choosing more and better for all. Gratefully acknowledging I am always at the center of what I create. I am changing now. Mind, body, spirit, emotions, all is well.
Beautiful. Your choice, but if you'd like to send that to me,
Absolutely.
I will put it under the YouTube video, so that if folks wish to actually sort of, read it for themselves, and I'm assuming they can potentially copy and paste it. So if you make sure that you put the copyright to yourself in there, and I'll make sure that that goes up onto the under the video.
Perfect.
There as well.
So it's a suggestion, and I would say to people to adapt it. If there's a word that bothers you, change it. It's just a starting point. It's a springboard, right? For finding your space to just feel connected. I love you. Sara loves you. We don't have to know you to love you, because we know we're connected in that place where we're all unconditional love.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If you like, I see our heart as being our connection to our soul. And as being one of those people who's found that they can speak light language, the language of light, I refer to it as being the language of our soul. I have no idea what I'm saying when I speak it, but I trust it. And the energy, and I say to people, it's not about what you hear, it's about what you feel. And that the same goes with the sound energy that I use as well. And people feel it. And the comments that I've had about how it's made people feel. And I think that's the important thing, is it's about the feeling of happy, the feeling of joy, the feeling of love, the feeling of worthiness, of valuing yourself, trusting and believing yourself. And I tend to refer to them more as affirmations or prayers that I say daily. And that would be my suggestion. Use what Kristi is shared. You find your own. And it's not just a one-off. It's a daily, or as you said, sort of when you're feeling in that space of, if it's going to help empower you to move out of that negative space. Yeah.
And also, sometimes people need a physical cue as well to shift their energy. So, if there's a hand position you like, in my husband tends to do this, put his thumb between his fingers, find that hand position, or like this, whatever it is that feels comfortable, just to help you bring yourself to the present moment, to this moment that you're living, and to release yourself from whatever, that old story is that really isn't serving you anymore. It's not the truth of who you are. And realizing that your ownership of these limiting beliefs may be the only thing holding you back at this point. So let it go.
And, for those of you listening to this, Kristi and I know we've been there. We're sharing because we understand. And there are still aspects of us that we are working on. You know, sort of, so we fully understand. We haven't moved beyond the ability to understand and to empathize, because I think for everybody that people refer to as a healer, we are still going through the process ourselves. It is just that we've got far enough that we can genuinely support people along that journey. And your purpose, it will come. Allow it to show itself. In the meantime, live and experience everything that you can. That would be my suggestion, because I didn't live, I existed. The experiences were just part of the existence rather than the really experiencing. And when I woke up, it was just like, I am going to experience. I've flown a helicopter, I've done a zip wire, I've done a sort of an abseil, I've sort of walked with wolves, I've done a whole, and simple things like pottery. Yeah, I've actually been with the potter's wheel. It doesn't have to be big. It's what speaks to you. Let yourself.
It's what's making your soul sing or your soul express. Exactly.
Yeah, I've even done a wing walk. Yes, but it's, you know, just let's go out and do these things. So I'm not making a suggestion that I haven't used myself. And now that we've got rid of all these lockdowns and everything, I'm looking forward to what can I do next? It's living life.
Choosing joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Kristi, please share a little bit more about yourself and how folks can get in touch with you.
So again, my name is Kristi Borst. You'll see the spelling, it's a little different. I am in Wells, Maine. I do see people in person there, individuals and couples, and I also work worldwide with my perspective reboot process, which again can help you to soothe the mind, calm the emotions, empower the soul, and heal the physical body. So my tagline is release what no longer serves you. And I will say again, the time is now. Be present, choose joy. We need you. We need you here fully.
Yeah, everybody has a purpose, even if it is only a kind word to a stranger. Not everybody is here for the grand gestures like Mother Teresa.
Right. And the job is really almost subservient. It's not the purpose, right? It's your beingness. It's your attitude, your platitude, your gratitude, your compassion out to others.
Yeah. Be a being, not a doing. And experiencing is being. Experiencing to me isn't about doing. It's about, that fun. Kristi, thank you so much. I'm going to say us. Unfortunately, obviously, I have no idea what's happened with Enolia, but as we know, folks, she's in Angola, and I know she travels around a bit as well. So
I missed you, Enola. Sorry you couldn't join us.
Yes. So I hope everything's okay, and it is literally just technical hitches, which we've gone through before, folks. If you've watched any of these, you'll know that. Next week on Gift of Healing TV, we have Transforming Conflict into Deeper Connections with Marisa Ferrara. And then the following week, the next Today's Conversation. I can tell you about, that's because we've got 5 weeks this month. So the next Today's Conversation is on Wednesday, the 14th of September. And that is creativity, Magic in the Mistakes with Jenny Han. And Jenny's an artist, so I can understand where that, the colour, I think that's going to be a brilliant conversation. So I hope you'll join us for that. Kristi, thank you. It has been a real pleasure to have this conversation with you. Folks, thank you. I hope that this has spoken to you. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with Kristi, myself, Enolia. If you're watching this on YouTube, I have made sure that the website information for all of us is under there. Kristi, if you let me have that, I will make sure that that goes under there as well. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Take care. Namaste.